Welcome to Legal 123s with ByrdAdatto. Legal issues simplified through real client stories and real-world experiences. Creating simplicity in 3, 2, 1.
Welcome back to another episode of Legal 123s with ByrdAdatto. I'm your host, ByrdAdatto, with my co-host, Michael Byrd.
As a business and healthcare law firm, we represent clients in multiple sectors and multiple specialties, especially healthcare.
Yes, we do.
This season, we are searching for common ground for our diverse audience, and we'll be bringing in many guests to help us. This season's theme is the universal language business.
Love it. Michael, before we bring on today's guests, yes, plural guests, have you ever heard someone say that goes well together like chocolate and peanut butter?
Well, I don't want to date myself, but I mean, I do actually remember the original commercial for Reese's, which was, you got your peanut butter and my chocolate. And the person said, no, you got my chocolate and my peanut butter. And something great came out of it, the Reese's, except for the fact that I don't like Reese's, but that's a different story.
That's another story. Okay. And that came out in the 1920s, that we're saying. So it started thinking about like the foods that when you mix together, it sounds like it could be awful, but there are a lot of people who think it might be good.
I don't know. I just have these random things popping into my mind. Like for some reason, when you started going down this road, I thought of Forrest Gump and him saying that he and Jenny were like peas and carrots. And I'm guessing that's good.
It could be. Yeah. It's a fair assessment. So what else is out there that people might think sounds weird, but when mixed properly or mixed together in general, is it delicious? So I thought of one that I always heard was bananas, creamy peanut butter, salty bacon, and white bread. That's also known as the Elvis sandwich because that was his favorite.
Wow, there's a lot there, man. Well, first of all, I'll say bacon, yum.
Yeah.
And secondly, why do we have to clarify salty bacon?
It's the Elvis sandwich.
I know. I
wasn't there for it.
Have you had unsalted bacon before? I don't know. And then finally, why are we promoting a sandwich for someone who supposedly died on the toilet?
Riley, we're going to have to cut that one out. Not even close to
Sorry, 13-year-old alert.
Well, so thinking of your 13-year-old brain, so in college, this is the first time I heard this combo, pizza and tangy ranch dressing. I had never heard of that, never really picked up the habit. A lot of my friends in college thought it was like the cat's meow, having those kind of things together. But what about you? What's your favorite combo food if you're mixing things together?
Mine's more nostalgic.
Okay.
So my daughter Caroline, who you know well, she used to babysit your kids.
Yep.
We used to go to a restaurant you also know well, Mariano's, Mexican restaurant. And she has much younger siblings. So when we would order fajitas, they would be getting the kids, chicken nuggets and fries. Well, I don't even know what we were doing, but we decided to each make fajitas where we put the rice and all that into the fajita, and we grabbed some of the kids' fries and stuck them in there and invented to ourselves fajitas. And we still talk about it to this day. I don't know if it's actually as good as we remember it being. I haven't had it in a long time, but we thought it was the bomb.
Well, it is French fries, rice, and white
all
flour
unhealthy
tortilla.
stuff.
It sounds really good, actually.
Yeah.
Well, I think one of my favorites of all time is a little bit different. Is a filet mignon with crab meat on it and a side of béarnaise sauce, which later in life I learned they call that the filet Oscar, and that's kind of bull because I was saying that well before all of a sudden these menus started coming up with this Oscar guy who giving him all the credit. I definitely think it should have been the filet Brad.
I think, you got some issues there that you need to sort through either in therapy or with Oscar.
Yeah.
But okay. Why are we talking about food combos?
Well, I was preparing for today's show and I started thinking about our guests that are going to be coming in. They both have diverse backgrounds, even diverse locations. And when you start hearing about it, you might be wondering with these backgrounds, in these different areas, would it work? And like a lot of weird sounding favorite foods that are out there, these combos, certain things coming together actually work amazing. And that's why I'm excited to have them on today as our guests.
All right. Well, let me get to introducing our two guests. We have Matt Taranto, who is an OG in the aesthetics market.
Yes, he
for over 25 years has been the owner of the Aesthetic Consulting Group. ACG is a unique and multifaceted consulting and training company. in the aesthetic marketplace. In 2001, ACG opened a med spa called Aesthetic Care in Shawnee Mission, Kansas. Matt is a graduate of the University of Kansas. Also joining us today is Daniel Schacter. He is the president of Cosmetic Physician Partners based out of Montreal, Quebec. He has successfully built 2 companies from the ground up. His most recent one example is growing a valuation of 10 million and 12 employees to 500 million with over 400 employees. And he was in the role of COO there. He's been trained in accounting at Deloitte and operations management and sales and sales growth at McKinsey and Company. These are all things that are way smarter than you, Brad.
Yes, I 100% fact check.
And I'm not done yet.
Oh, gosh.
Okay, yeah. So Daniel has an accounting from McGill University, an MBA from Oxford University in the UK, where he graduated with first-class distinction and on the dean's list. And all I got from all of that is I'm not going to challenge anything he says.
Yes.
Welcome, gentlemen.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for having us.
Well, I think, following our theme with the combos, I don't think we can start this podcast without asking you guys a very important question. All right. So Matt, I'm going to start with you. What is your favorite food combo that might sound weird to others that you just love though?
Well, a few come to mind. I lived in Spain for a year back in the mid 90s, and they don't eat ketchup with their French fries. They eat mayonnaise. I thought that was just odd, and I tried it, and I thought, it's pretty good. And I had a buddy of mine in college who would dip his French fries in a chocolate shake, and I thought that sounded horrible. When I tried it, it was good. But something that is weird that we grew up with, we kind of like, I know it's weird, it's a peanut butter and pickle sandwich.
Oh, wow.
Right.
I know it sounds bizarre, but man, try it. It's good. Peanut butter and pickle sandwich. It just rocks.
If I get to pick the one I'm trying, it's the chocolate shake with French fry. I'm in.
I'm telling you, salty,
kryptonite.
sweet combo thing. So, yeah.
Daniel, what about you?
You know what, Matt? That's why we're so alike. When I was a kid, I grew up with Ritz crackers, peanut butter, and black olives. So that's salty peanut butter mix. That's where it goes.
Well, man, now I hope our audience right now is pausing, running to the kitchen, and then building out these amazing
Well, this is too fun, and probably not going to talk too much about the universal language of business if we keep going down this road.
Yes, it's more a universal language of combo foods.
Yes. Well, we have to, I think, move on from the food talk, as we could spend the rest of the day talking about this. But let's start with, I'm curious, talk to us about Cosmetic Physician Partners, CPP, and just introduce that business for us.
Happy to. So CPP, our mission is to build the premier network of physician-led medical aesthetic clinics across the United States. Clinics like Matt Taranto's and a number of other clinics like Dr. Jay Burns up in Dallas. We're looking to build a network that has some of the greatest physicians working together, collaborating on efficiencies, collaborating on best practices, collaborating on how to build some of the strongest cultures in their practices to get the best results. How it works with physician partners is clinics who are interested in joining. We basically acquire the clinic and they become part of Cosmetic Physician Partners. And in exchange for that, they get shares in CPP and kind of the mothership. And then they become owners in each and every one of these other clinics as well. So, by joining, you become part of Matt's clinic and Jay's clinic, and they become part of yours. And everyone is incentivized to have every other clinic succeed.
It's amazing.
Yeah, I think it's a very unique approach. There's, throughout the history of the aesthetic industry, you've seen chains come and go a lot. And I think what's happened is there's a few of us are obviously with CPP, like Jay Burns and myself, who've been around a long time. We've built relationships with a lot of really amazing people. And to get them joined together, to get all the brains working together and share all the successes, learn from everybody's failures, it's been amazingly exciting. I never envisioned myself, we've been very fortunate and did well. But man, just the things I've learned in the last 12 months, working with some people way smarter than I am, it's just where we can take this is amazing. So we're very, very excited about, just joining up with the best of the best and creating an amazing, amazing team.
Yeah, and of course, we at ByrdAdatto go way back with you, Matt, and with Jay, and I mean, you're talking about the top of the top in the industry, and it's just super impressive what you guys are building.
Yeah, no, we're excited.
I'd love to kind of hear more about y'all's story and how y'all connected with each other. So I'll start with Matt, and just kind of love to hear how you guys became connected.
Yeah, well, we, like you said, I've been in this industry for just over 25 years now. Opened my clinic in 2001, and then had Aesthetic Consulting Group, which we changed the name to Mint Aesthetics. And we've been fortunate, worked with a lot of clinics, over 1,600 throughout North America. A few fun ones actually in Australia and England and Puerto Rico, some international flavor in there. Awesome. Did quite a bit of work up in Canada, where Daniel's from. And, as you get older, you learn you have some certain strengths and probably more weaknesses that you'd like to admit. And I think I have some strengths in the area of team building and technology and marketing, but not a lot on the details of business, right? I'm much more of a big picture person, and it's worked out okay, but we've gotten to a certain size that we really are looking to expand with CPP, and we really needed somebody who had that, can look at every aspect of a business and increase efficiencies and productivity and look at the numbers and analyze things. And we interviewed a number of people from Dallas, Chicago, but with Dan, you read a little bit of his resume. It's kind of ridiculously impressive for a guy who's in his early 30s. And when you talk to him, and I've seen his work now in progress, it's above my pay grade, way above my pay grade. And I've learned, early on that you hire based on your weaknesses, not on your strengths. So I think we complement each other well. He's got skill sets that I just don't have and I will never have. So it just worked out to be a great fit.
That's awesome. Dan, love to hear your perspective.
Yeah, I mean, Matt's kind of hit the nail on the head again. It's I was just coming off of closing up my previous company, which we exited at about $500 million, and that was a big win. And I was debating whether I take some time off or a few other opportunities. And when Matt approached and sort of explained to me what the landscape was like in the medical aesthetic space, the need for someone with deep operations capabilities, really sort of opened my eyes to where specifically these clinics needed help. It was just fantastic. There's so much opportunity. The people are amazing. So many smiles on everyone's face, and just so much excitement to learn. It was hard to pass up. So, it's been an amazing adventure. Matt and team have been phenomenal to work with, and the clinics that we've onboarded have seen just some incredible success, taking best practices from other industries and bringing them to the medical aesthetic world. So it's great.
That's such a cool story. And obviously now that the audience kind of knows how you guys met, y'all both, as y'all were talking about, have different vast business experiences. So love to hear some of the commonalities that y'all have experiences with your various businesses. And maybe Dan, I'll start with you this time.
Yeah, I think the first thing that I've noticed, we were working with a clinic up in Minnesota, a large clinic. About they're part of CPP. They're just under $10 million of sales for one clinic, and what we noticed is they were doing phenomenal things, but they hadn't really focused on what I call the blocking and tackling. And this is true in almost any industry. You're looking at sort of these big plays, these special plays, because they look good and they're exciting and interesting, but you forget about the day-to-day operations. What is making your business move and turn. And really, deep diving in there with the staff and the team and understanding what's working well and what's causing friction. What are making people go home tired at the end of the night. And over 3 months, that clinic, profits are up about 50%. So I'm talking about a large clinic, and moving the profit 50 points is massive, just by the small stuff, not worrying about the big plays. Just, I'll give an example. People had not really looked at in a long time their payroll system, and their office manager was wasting a full day each payroll cycle working on payroll, and they were paying a fortune for it. So just redesigning that process, it might seem like not that sexy a thing to do, but it made that office manager's life so good. And then she focused on everything else that she had to do. That was a massive win. And that would be an example of where, we focus on the blocking and tackling and just making these businesses run really nice and smoothly.
I have a follow up to that. That's super interesting. How do you find that it's difficult to get people to step out of the day to day to actually pause to look at the processes, or talk about how you're able to do that reassessment?
Yeah. So one of the things that we do at CPP, which is a little different to their role, is right at the beginning we'll come in and we'll spend a few days on site with the team. And most people, especially if they were consultants, they want to talk and they want to explain and say, hey, this is what to do. We do the opposite. We're quiet and we watch and we ask questions. Not pushing, just watching how the process works. And a lot of the times you see it very quickly. You see why the front desk is starting to get nervous and sort of, under the desk, their legs are starting to bob. And, after they're done with that patient, you might ask, how are you feeling? Why do you feel that way? What caused it? And very quickly they'll tell you, oh, my computer is too slow. And then, it's a quick little thing like that that's like, okay, tell me more about this computer. When was it changed? When was the last time you guys upgraded it? Who upgraded it? Little things like that can lead to, very, very quick wins. And as soon as it might sound small, but, a win like that might save you $5,000 or $10,000 on your practice. You add up 50, 60 of these wins, and all of a sudden, that's $500,000 of savings. $500,000 of profit. I mean, what owner wouldn't want that at the end of the day? So a lot of the times it's by listening, watching, and then asking questions. And I'm Canadian, so polite questions, easy to do.
That's important to have polite questions. I agree with you on that part. Matt, what about you?
I will tell you that my overall philosophy has changed so much over the years because, one thing I think one of the best books any small business owner can read is The E-Myth. I don't know if you guys know that, but it's I'm sure it's a fictional story. The old adage, boy, if you're really good at something, just open your own business. And this woman is really good at baking pies. And they say, oh, you got all her friends, open up a pie shop. And her pies are amazing, but the business was terrible because the amazing pies were just one part of the business. And so we've been very fortunate, with aesthetic hair. I think it's, now one of the larger ones in the country. And it's all about, for me, it's about the staff. Okay. And I run the business. Richard Branson, I think, has the best quote I've ever heard in running a business. And that's train your staff so well that they could leave you and get any job they want. Treat them so well that they will never leave you. And, we would love to be the best clinic in the world. I tell everybody that. It'd be a great goal to have, tough to measure, right? We're going to be the best clinic in our geographic territory. And there's got to be a little bit of a, desire, competitive nature to make that happen. But you can't make that happen with high turnover. And you can't make that happen without an amazing work culture. Another great book is the best book I've ever read about managing people is The Customer Comes Second. And so my goal is my staff is my number one priority. I'm going to expect greatness. I'm only going to hire greatness, but I'm going to pay better than everybody else. I'm going to treat them better than anybody will treat them. We're going to have more fun than anybody has. We're going to make it a place that everybody feels blessed to work at. And, in this industry, we're not curing cancer, right? We're not changing the world with some revolutionary healthcare thing. We're making people look better. So let's not take ourselves too seriously. There should be a lot of laughter, a lot of smiles, a lot of energy, a lot of hugging going on. And I think when you develop an amazing culture with an amazing staff, everything else becomes easy.
How much time do you find yourself spending on that, on the culture and the staff and just cultivating everything you just described?
Yeah, a lot. And like I said, there's only three things in our industry that actually generate revenue, right? And that your staff is number one. Technology, you're going to have some technology. It's a necessary evil, buying lasers or radio frequency devices, things like that. And then some good marketing. Those three things will give you a return. And so for me, number one's the staff. That's my main priority is, we kind of go by the Nordstrom motto is hire the smile, train the skill, which is basically hire based on what you cannot teach. Because you give me a nurse with a brain, and most nurses have a brain, We can teach them to be amazing laser operators and injectors, but I could never teach them to be happy, be ethical, be passionate, be fun, be good energy. Those as an adult, we're either going to kind of have or not. And so we hire amazing people, and then we teach them the things that we're able to teach them. So I would say the most important aspect of my job is creating this team, maintaining this team, and maintaining a culture that when people leave at the end of the day, they're just thrilled to be a part of this team.
Do you find that I love that? My follow-up question to that is, do you find that it's that people that don't actually have the skills to do what y'all do can get through and into the system, or have you found that everybody's trainable?
I'll give you a good example. I review numbers every month of every provider. I've got a young superstar nurse, Christina Moss, who last May, we always compare, month the year before. She was fairly new. She generated 21,000, and this May she generated almost 80. That type of growth is wonderful, and she had zero experience in aesthetics. But man, she works hard. She studies hard. We've trained her like crazy. We've sent her to trainers. We bring trainers in. Nobody's going to invest more money in my geographic area into training their staff than I am. But I look at that as marketing dollars, right?
Yeah.
Because when I make my staff better, it's the best investment I will ever make. Because what happens when you get better? You get better treatments, which you have happier clients, which gives you more referrals. So that is a marketing deal. So my goal is, again, it's very simple. There's no clinic in my geographic area that is going to have a better, well-trained staff who loves their job more. And it just takes a lot of everyday focus on that and not settling for anything less.
That's great. And for our audience, what we'll do is you named 2 books. The Customer Comes Second was the second book. We'll drop that in the show notes so they can find it. And say that is the first book called E-Merit?
No, E-Myth. E-Myth. And it's the entrepreneurial myth about all you have to do to have a good business is have a good product. And that's just not true.
I agree with that. So yeah, we'll drop both of those for our audience who want to find it to buy it. But those are, I love that. Michael and I are both very passionate about these kind of things. So, and we always love to share that kind of information with our audience that they can find it.
And I'll be reading them as well.
I know.
One thing I would tell you, just add to that real quick, is so many of the clinics that we work with as consultants, one of the first things I ask is I want to hear about your staff, how long they've been there, and your turnover. To a T, the clinics that have high turnover are just sucking wind. And it is really business suicide if you can't keep staff. And one of my proudest things is the first nurse I hired 20 years ago is still here and going strong, and people just don't leave. But I think you guys will agree, people don't leave great jobs. Okay? They don't leave great, amazing jobs. So you just got to make the job great and amazing.
Yeah.
So inspiring.
Yeah.
I love it. All right, we have a little bit of time left, and I would love to hear some pearls from hard lessons learned. I know, well, Daniel, I don't know with your resume, I don't know if you may have to dig deep to find a mistake that you learned from, but I'll give you a minute. We'll let Matt start. Just especially something that could be applied to any business.
Yeah, I would tell you that, again, obviously the staff's always going to be number one. Understand where you put your money and what the return is. I've always told people that nobody ever comes back to my clinic and said, man, I'd come back if you had a better couch. Okay. Or if the painting on the wall cost $5,000 versus $100. Nobody says that. They come back because customer service. And, I love the comparison of Chick-fil-A and McDonald's. Okay. I don't know if you guys have ever been in a Chick-fil-A or I'm sure McDonald's. The cleanliness, the attitudes, the politeness is almost day and night, usually. Okay. Going to Nordstrom and then going to Macy's, going to Shields Sporting Goods and going to Dick's. There's such a gap of customer service, and so every employee that works here, day one, they get a copy of the Nordstrom Way. They have to read it. They have to read it, and we discuss it because I think Nordstrom is such a story about a company that decided to be different by the way that they empower their employees to treat people. But the biggest key is you can't, I think I'm a fairly good motivator and I can, get people excited about this stuff. But if you don't continually work on it, it will fade away. And because the client that comes in at 5:30 on a Friday and the nurse is dying to go meet their friends for a happy hour, it's been a long week, that client deserves the same amazing care that the client who walked in at 9 a.m. on Monday morning. And it takes management, owner, whatever my managers, to always be hyper aware of the energy level in the environment in our clinic, because come on, some days aren't good. You have a piece of technology that breaks down. You got a couple people calling sick with COVID. Things can kind of go south. Well, you know what? Catch it early. Stop it. Pull a provider away. Say, hey, I know that client you just had was a royal pain in your butt. She was very difficult, but your next client deserves amazing care. Let it go. And so we're always working on a daily basis. And I think if you can create an atmosphere that your clients, patients, or we call them clients, when they walk in, they can sense, man, these people love their job. They are having a blast. Everything else becomes easy.
Awesome. That's cool. And Dan, I was tongue in cheek. I know we all have our lessons. Share with us a lesson.
All good, Mike. I would say, for me, and it's become a mantra here at CPP for us. We call it just two things. And the idea is there are always so many priorities, so many things that you could work on at any given time that are exciting, that have big impact. The problem is there isn't enough time in the day to do it, and it's hard to focus. So, one of the things that we've learned, and we learned it the hard way, unfortunately, but now it is quite institutionalized in any business I've worked at, is focus on two of them. And if you ask any employee, with CPP or anyone of our clinics that are part of the partnership, what are the things you're focused on this week? What are the things you're focused on today? They are easily able to say, okay, it's these two things that we're trying to implement, or these two trainings that we're trying to get done. And once you've completed them, then you can move on to something else.
That's really cool. And so it could vary by person. They may have their two things.
Exactly.
And do they identify it like at the beginning of a work day, like they need to have that kind of purpose to their day? Or tell me about that.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we generally do at a higher level, we'll do a weekly stand-up. And I guess you're familiar with the stand-up philosophy. Yeah. And each person on the team will say, hey, these are the two targets I'm going after this week. As you work your way down in the business, generally, things that are at a weekly level, let's say for a director, might become a daily level for an individual contributor. So, it definitely works its way down the organization, but you definitely want that, permeating throughout the company. Everyone has things they can improve, whether it be a receptionist, whether it be a patient coordinator, whether it be, an esthetician. Everyone can contribute. And we definitely want to get the whole organization into that ownership mindset.
That's so cool. Well, now I'm going to force you to go from 2 to 1. I would like each one of you to tell us the one thing that is you're the most proudest thing that you've done in all the different business strategies or accomplishments that, again, that could be beneficiary to industry. So just one now, not two, just one. Matt, you want to start us off?
Yeah, mine without a doubt is the journey that I get to see our team go through. The biggest joy I get in owning my business and being a boss is when I can be even a small part of making somebody's life better. And one of my favorite stories is one of my employees here has been with me for 15 years. I hired her as a massage therapist with this stupid idea that we should have massage. We got rid of that very quickly because it didn't fit our business, but she was such a hard worker and such an amazing human being that we got her involved in some other things. And since she's been with me for 15 years in her life, she's gotten married. She's had 3 kids. She worked full time, put herself through nursing school at night. Mm-hmm. When I hired her away from the massage studio she's made $18,000 a year, and last year she made $150,000.
Wow!
And I look at that journey and some of the journey, and that literally, it's the biggest joy I get is that these people, we become friends, we become a family, and I get to see their lives improve. Hopefully, in part because they have a wonderful job, mm-hmm. And I just. Nothing's better than that.
That's great. Dan, what about you?
Same thing. I mean, watching your people grow, there's nothing that can beat that. And it's been true in some of the last roles I've been in, and it's been true here as well. There's nothing that brings me a smile, a greater smile than just seeing someone succeed at the work they're doing. And being able to say, hey, you're ready for that next role, and promoting them to the next job. I mean, that's what we try and do here at CPP in the partnership, is really make sure that people have a career path, whether it's at the clinic level or it's higher level working on multiple clinics simultaneously. it's really making sure people feel like they can stay with us for their whole career and get excited by it. So yeah, we're big fans.
You're speaking our language.
Yes.
It's just really been inspiring to listen to both of you today. I feel like I'm going to go and got a couple books to read.
Same here.
Some things to
You
talk
didn't know
about.
you were going to have Tony. You didn't know you were going to have Tony Robbins on this podcast, did you?
I know. It's amazing.
Yes.
We are so grateful for our relationship with you guys. We're grateful that you came on to join us today. What we'll do next is go into a commercial, and on the other side, we'll come up with some legal insights from our discussion today. Thank you, guys.
Oh, thanks for having us.
Thanks so much, guys.
Many business owners use legal counsel as a last resort rather than as a proactive tool that can further their success. Why? For most, it's the fear of unknown legal costs. ByrdAdatto's Access Plus program makes it possible for you to get the ongoing legal assistance you need for one predictable monthly fee. That gives you unlimited phone and email access to the legal team, so you can receive feedback on legal concerns as they arise. Access Plus, a smarter, simpler way to access legal services. Find out more. Visit ByrdAdatto.com today.
Welcome back to Legal 123s with ByrdAdatto. I'm your host, ByrdAdatto, still here with my co-host, Michael Byrd. Now, Michael, wow, we just had an awesome podcast. I think throughout this season, we may have said this a lot. Sorry, audience, but if y'all didn't love what Dan and Matt just threw down, pretty amazing input. I wish, again, we had a lot more time with them. But obviously, today we covered a lot and just going through the details and the culture and the team and all the different ways. And just two things. I mean, there's so many good, great takeaways that we could go off that one podcast. Let's just try to refocus, Michael, this whole theme that we've been hearing over and over again. It seems culture and staff seem to be pretty important.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, if you could pull two things from what we heard this whole season, it would be training and education and your staff.
Yeah.
And of course they go hand in hand, training your staff. But they're if you go back to each of our guests, that there was some, at a minimum, some element of that as a universal business concept that was so important. And then, Brad, I know you're a details guy, but I found it very fascinating as someone who's not a details guy. I'm more like, I resonated with Matt.
Yeah.
But when Daniel was talking about the differences that they make, CPP makes with some of the blocking and tackling details.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, that's all the time we have for today's episode, Michael. But guess what? Next Wednesday's show, we have a special guest, Hall Gaynor from Orange Twist will be with us. And guess what? We'll be discussing Mickey Mouse and Botox.
ByrdAdatto is providing this podcast as a public service. This podcast is for educational purposes only. This podcast does not constitute legal advice, nor does it establish an attorney-client relationship. Reference to any specific product or entity does not constitute an endorsement or recommendation by ByrdAdatto. The views expressed by guests are their own, and their appearance on the program does not imply an endorsement of them or any entity they represent. Please consult with an attorney on your legal issues.